Hello, our dear viewers, and welcome to a new edition of our program, Africa Today. In today's edition, we are going to shed light about the economy in Egypt and Africa and its ranking. And we'll start with our report about that issue, about the performance of the economy. And that is indeed very important among the 10 top countries showing resilience. Egypt ranked fourth with the index of 88.7 in the Economist Normality Index, tracking the behavioral change due to the COVID-19 pandemic that impacted world economies due to the socio-economic challenges over the past year.
The current COVID peak is 80% higher than Africa's previous peak when data from South Africa is excluded. Without the data from South Africa, cases rose in Africa by 18% to over 182,000 in the week ending on July 18th. The WHO said, "Be under no illusions, Africa's third wave is absolutely not over. This small step forward offers hope and inspiration, but must not mask the big picture for Africa. Many countries are still at peak risk, and Africa's third wave surged up faster and higher than ever before." The Eid celebrations, which were marked this week, may also result in a rise in cases. Dr. Matshidiso Moeti, World Health Organization Regional Director for Africa, said, "We must all double down on prevention measures to build on these fragile gains." 21 African countries have seen cases rise by over 20% for at least 2 weeks running, which is an increase of 3 countries over the previous week, and the highly transmissible Delta variant has been found in 26 African countries. The Alpha variant is in 38 countries and Beta is in 35. South Africa's gains remain uncertain as protests have disrupted the country's response, including disease surveillance and testing. Violent mass gatherings could also trigger another rise in cases. This comes as WHO urges African countries to urgently ramp up COVID-19 vaccinations as the squeeze on vaccine shipments eases. Around 60 million doses are set to arrive in the coming weeks from the United States of America, Team Europe, the United Kingdom, purchased doses and other partners through the COVAX facility. Over 500 million doses are expected through COVAX alone this year. Nearly 70% of African countries will not reach the 10% vaccination target for all countries by the end of September at the current pace. Around 3.5 million to 4 million doses are administered weekly on the continent, but to meet the September target, this must rise to 21 million doses at the very least each week. Just 20 million Africans, or 1.5% of the continent's population, are fully vaccinated so far, and just 1.7 of the 3.7 billion doses given globally have been administered in Africa. High-income countries have administered 62 times more doses per person than low-income countries.
And that was the number of COVID-19 cases that fell in Africa by 1.7% to nearly 282,000 in the week ending the 18th of July. While now we are going to have this report about the top 10 countries showing resilience. Egypt ranked fourth with the index of 88.7 in the Economist Normality Index, tracking the behavioral change due to the COVID-19 pandemic. More details with Samah Sharif.
Among the top 10 countries showing resilience, Egypt ranked fourth with an index of 88.7 in the Economist Normalcy Index, tracking behavioral change due to the COVID-19 pandemic that impacted world economies due to socio-economic challenges over the past year. Dr. Rania Al-Mashat said that the index incorporates 50 of the world's largest economies that make up for 90% of the global GDP and 76% of the world's population. Egypt's rank as fourth represents the country's resilience in its ability to withstand the impact of the health crisis, all while maintaining commitment to its own 2030 national agenda and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs). Aiming to track lifestyle changes that occurred due to the health crisis and monitoring what continues to change, the Economist Normalcy Index consists of 8 indicators that are split into 3 domains. The first domain covers transportation and travel and encompasses public transportation, traffic congestion, and number of international and domestic flights. The second domain includes entertainment and addresses how much time is spent outside of the house, cinema box office revenues, and attendance of professional sports events. And the third domain looks into retail and work and measures the occupancy of offices.
And to shed more light on the issue, we are very much delighted to have with us over the phone Dr. Bassent Fahmy, our economic expert and former member of Parliament. Dr. Bassent, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, madam.
Dr. Bassent, how do you see the ranking of Egypt as a force in the Normalcy Index of The Economist?
Egypt, the whole world saw what Egypt has been really planning to do. And when I started by saying planning, because it started by having a very comprehensive and professional strategy and plan called the 2030. This plan covered all aspects of life in Egypt, not only the economic side, the economic, the social, the political, which could affect even the culture, the education, healthcare, all aspects of life in Egypt. The plan was carefully discussed in the parliament in very much detail, approved by Mr. President, and it was presented by the government. And then we started the implementation. The implementation went as well in a very successful manner. When I say successful, it is reflected in all the figures and ratios and indices, because economies and economics are not words. Economics are facts, indices, impact on life, value of currency, standard of living, you name it. So we did a very, very comprehensive plan. It was properly implemented. Definitely this is 2030, meaning we still have a long way to go. But to start with, the implementation at the early stage was a very successful one. And it was actually reflected in all, as I mentioned, indices and ratios which judges the economy. And again, when we look at the evaluation of economics, we look at the international institutions because those are neutral, they're very professional, and when they talk, everybody listens. So yes, we did a very, very comprehensive plan, properly implemented, properly followed up by Mr. President, minute by minute. And this is a very important one because he gave the example to everyone that if you wish really to work, you work on the ground. You don't work from the offices. So alhamdulillah, the results are very positive, and inshallah it's going to continue further for the coming period.
Indeed. Dr. Fahmy, what factors do you see were behind this rebound?
First of all, the clear vision. We have a very clear vision, the President, the government, and everybody had a very clear vision about what is going on in the world and where is the world going. The clear vision resulted in a very comprehensive plan. Third, we have a very well-diversified economy, exceptionally diversified. We are lucky enough that we have as well a climate and a geographic location which enabled us to work 365 days and nights, even with COVID-19 implications. And again, I wish to add that 50% of the population are young generation. So they're strong, they can develop, and they want to really build a new life. And we saw all of us, and I always call it a symphony, which was exposed a few days ago, how we are building a new life, a decent life all over Egypt, where every single Egyptian is participating. Would it be the government, the parliament, would it be the business people, the army, the police, the young generation, women, men? So I call it a symphony because it was very, very well distributed, very well played. So those are, in my personal opinion, the reasons behind the success. Egyptians decided to change their life, decided to work properly on managing their country and their wealth, and that's why we are seeing all those results, in my personal opinion.
Yes. Dr. Bassent, what aspects of the Egyptian economy suffered most during the pandemic?
Excuse me?
What aspects of the Egyptian economy suffered most during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Definitely, COVID-19 had a very tough, as you say, it's on the health situation. I mean, you cannot really control a virus, but we have made a very good plan so that we could cope with this situation. But COVID-19 had a less negative impact on us than most of the countries in the world.
Yeah.
Why? Because of the climate, because of the geographic location, and because we combated it in a very professional manner as well. So yes, COVID impacted on us, but if you believe me, it had as well a positive impact.
Indeed.
Because it directed our attention that we need to work on green economy, blue economy, develop our governorate, create decent life for people, and all this, the infrastructure, and all this you can work on days and night with COVID or without COVID.
Indeed, Dr. Fahmy, what fields of economy scored well during the crisis of the COVID-19?
The school is that you have to study carefully your point of strength, your point of weaknesses, the opportunities in front of us, and how can we really handle. Those are the main. Second, we knew where to invest, and we knew that there are major problems affecting the whole world, like the climate change, like the poverty. So we actually redesigned our strategy to concentrate on the blue and green economy, to concentrate on the infrastructure so that we could rebuild the country even while having the implication of, or the impact of COVID-19.
Yes, do you see the world is still in the middle of the crisis, Dr. Fahmy?
Definitely, and I think the coming will be more difficult. But the good thing about it is that we all know, I want to repeat that word, we know how difficult it is, and we know as well that we need to cooperate together, the whole world.
Yes.
Not only to combat COVID, but to combat the change of climate, which is more serious than COVID, and the increase of the level of poverty, which is again more serious than COVID.
Yes. How would you list, Dr. Bassent, the lifestyle changes in Egypt due to the pandemic as tracked by the Economist report?
Actually, I see it positive. Why? Because we now started to concentrate on activities we neglected for a very long time.
Yes.
First of all, developing the green economy, the blue economy, and the infrastructure. All those activities were left behind for decades, to the extent that when you walk around across the Egyptian territory, you feel the difference between the three major governorates and the rest of the country. So COVID actually put it in front of us that you need to concentrate on those activities so that you could rebuild, as we call it, a new republic with a decent life for all Egyptians. And we will continue, meaning we will continue to work on combating the climate change. We will continue to work on the green and blue economy to supply food for the whole world, because hunger and the decrease of level, the increase of level of poverty will be a very, very critical problem in the coming period.
Indeed. Dr. Bassent Fahmy, our economic expert and former member of Parliament, many thanks for your precious input. Always a pleasure to have you with us. And with this report, at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, Egypt next faced Denmark in the rematch of their dramatic quarter-final meeting at the World Championship in January after their win in the men's preliminary round, Group B handball in Portugal. More details with Samah Sharif.
Egypt got off to a winning start to their Olympic Games campaign, producing a superb second-half display to down Portugal 37-31 in their opening Group B game on Saturday. Both sides went to their locker room tied at 15-15, with Egypt leveling just before halftime with a brilliant foul from Yahya Khalid. The introduction of goalkeeper Mohamed Al-Tayyar in the second half made all the difference as he pulled off a string of fine saves to tip the game in Egypt's favor. Egypt started to widen the gap with 10 minutes remaining, with Portugal unable to stage a comeback. Ahmed Hisham was named the match's best player after scoring 7 goals. The Pharaohs top Group B with 2 points. The top 4 in the 2 groups will qualify for the quarterfinals. Egypt faced Denmark in their next game on Monday in a rematch of the dramatic quarter-final meeting at the World Championship in January. Eventual world champions Denmark won 39-38 after a marathon contest needed penalties to be settled.
Well, with that final item, our dear viewers, we come to the end of this edition of Africa Today. Mahisi Rabia, many thanks for watching.